Your first try with an Arduino sketch will probably look something like this. The Arduino application is running on my Mac, and I've got various menu items here. The format will look a little different with different versions of Arduino or on Windows or a Unix type system. But the basic ideas are all still here. You've got a file menu which allows you to open files or open recent files. If I open that first ever file that I had previously had open, that's FirstEverArduino. That's the one that you're going to download from the course website. And it's about as simple an Arduino sketch as you can get. It has this setup function, which is telling it, first, set up the serial port at this speed, 115,200 baud. So that's pretty fast. And then print out a message that says, "Hello world." Then in a loop down here, it's going to go, every time it goes through the loop, it'll print out the number of milliseconds that have gone by and let us know what's going on. Print out a carriage return, a new line character at the end of the line, and then it will delay for 1,000 milliseconds. So it's not going to be very interesting. We can push the check mark button to compile the code, and it goes through and it's done compiling and it didn't generate any errors. Now if I'd made a mistake in here, for instance if I'd forgotten to put a semicolon on and I'd compiled it, it expected to see a semicolon, so I have to look back from this line and see, maybe it was on that line that it expected that semicolon. And now if I check compile again, it works just fine. Usually when I'm testing my code, I don't want to just compile it. I also want to download it onto the Uno so that it'll be running on my microcontroller. To do that, I don't need to press the compile button. If I press this upload button, it'll compile and then upload the code to the Arduino. So I'll press that button. It does the compile again. It goes through an uploading process, and then it says that it's done. So it looks like it succeeded. So nothing's coming out here. That's because I haven't actually got the serial window open to be able to see what's going on. So under Tools, Serial Monitor, I could get the monitor to come up, but I almost always go for this little magnifying glass here and click on it. And there's the monitor. Now I set my speed to 115,200 and the speed down here in my monitor is set to 115,200, so they match. So everything works just fine. If they didn't match, I might get something a little odd. It's sending me some weird characters because the speeds don't match. So we can't figure out what's going on the Uno. So make sure the speed matches. So now it starts up again. Every time you make a change, it's going to reset your Uno and get it to start running the code from the beginning. So it's done what we expected it to do. A couple of new lines, hello world, a couple more new lines, and then every time it goes through the loop, and it's about 1 second between times through the loop, it prints out our message along with the time in milliseconds. I like to keep my screen set up something like this with the code window over here and the serial monitor over here, because if I make a change, I can go back here and let's say we change that to be 2 line feeds. I can just recompile the code, it'll upload it, and I'll immediately see what's going on in that window over there again. So now I'm getting an extra line break in between each of these lines that it's printing out. And if I do it again, I'll eventually see that it comes back and it's doing things exactly the same as it was before. Now, one of the other things you can do, some other shortcuts that we've got available here, it's really good to keep the indentation at the right level so that our code is a little bit more readable. So if I highlight a few lines and press the tab key, it will indent all of them at once. Or the shift back tab key and it'll take them all back. Likewise, if I wanted to comment out some code, I can highlight the lines that I want to comment out and press Control/ or Command/ on the Mac, and it'll put a couple of slashes in front of each line so that it can be commented out, and those won't actually be compiled into the program. So now if I compile my program, it goes through, it ignored those. I get the hello world. I'm not seeing anything else getting printed out. It's still doing all of the calculations, going through the loop every second, but it's not printing out. So if I uncomment those, again with Command/ or Control/ and run it again, we should start seeing the, there it is, same stuff we were getting before. Later on, you may want to get some information from the serial monitor window and transfer it to some other program like a text editor or possibly to Excel. Sometimes this data will be going by so fast that you want to stop it before you go and grab things. So if I hit the auto scroll checkbox there, it'll stop scrolling. It's still printing out information, but it's effectively off the bottom of the screen here. So you can see this scroll bar is moving up. I can then use my cursor as usual to highlight some information on the screen. I could even go rolling way up off the screen if I wanted to. So let's get this stuff all the way to the very top. And I'll press Command-C or Control-C to copy it. And then let's get Excel up. I'll open a blank workbook. And in this cell, I'll press Command-V or Control-V to put everything that I just copied into the Excel spreadsheet. If I select that column, I can use Data, Text to Columns, and that will allow me to convert text to columns, and I'll use, well, maybe I'll separate it on spaces and commas. Usually we'll just be using delimited data with commas in between everything we want to. So delimited data, I want to get spaces, not tabs, but I also want to separate it with commas. And I'll say finish now. And now it's taken out the stuff that I got from the serial monitor window, and it's split it into columns for me nicely. Now if these were all numbers, I could go up here and insert a chart. For example, a scatter plot or a line plot, depending on what I was looking for. So that's how you can get data from the Arduino window over to Excel. And I'm not going to save that. And if we turn auto scroll back on, then we're down at the bottom here. We've got a whole lot more data. It's been quite a while since we started.